Welcome, everyone. My name is Marina Antunes, Festival Director for Spark Animation, and I want to welcome you to this entry into our Meet the Filmmaker series, where we talk to filmmakers whose films are playing at the festival. And I'm very pleased to have with me today Janina Putzker, the director of Potato Falls, which isn't only playing at the festival, but won a prize. Winner of the commercial category. Congratulations and welcome to Spark.
Oh, thank you so much. Really happy.
We're so happy to have you here. And I really wanted to, I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to ask you some questions about your project because it's so cute and it's such a filmmaker's heaven. So first, tell us a little bit more about yourself, though. This is your first film, it's that?
No, not really. So I did two shorts before that. That was Piano Eat. It was about a rabbit and a piano player. And the other one was Space Cocks. That was actually kind of the same quirky, crazy as this movie. Also just a 1 minute short. But this time I used like a very different technique than I usually do because I usually do classic 2D traditional animation. And this time was really more experimental.
I actually saw Space Cocks. I went looking for it when I saw it in your list of projects. And it is on YouTube and it is hilarious and very much in keeping with the tone of Potato Falls. So, let's talk a little bit about Potato Falls. How did you first come to well, actually, before we get there, for those that might not realize it, because I certainly had to look to see what it was for. What exactly is the shortest day celebration? Because it seems like it's something that's quite specific to Germany. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So this teaser was commissioned by AG Kurzfilm, and they have this like once per year. It's like a short film event in Germany where all kind of like people who have cinemas, but also like schools and public places are can like take part and just rent short films and show them to people. So that goes also in like old elderly people homes or something. And it's just a celebration of short films all over Germany, really. And I was lucky enough that, I got this dream gig as a freelancer that almost never happens, is when a producer comes up to you and is like, so we are commissioned to do this little teaser, and you could basically do whatever you want to do as long as we like it. And I was like, are you going to pay me for that? Hell yes. So that almost never happens. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to grab this opportunity for sure. I'm going to give it my best shot.
That's amazing. So you had a blank slate. What was they told you could basically do whatever you want, but were there some parameters that you had to, meet within that opening?
Well, it had to be family friendly. But besides that, I was pretty free to do whatever I want. So the only things I had was like, okay, short films and Germany. And for some reason, when I think about Germany, I think about potatoes. And I love potatoes because they're so dull and cute in a way. So I just said, my pitch was literally, I want to do something fun with potatoes. I didn't even know what it was going to be yet, but that was kind of my parameters that I set for myself. And then I went from there and I came up with these, okay, how about different genres? And we see these potatoes as like protagonists in different stories. But yeah, I mean, the idea was quite simple. But I really wanted to focus on how it was made because I really wanted those potatoes to look realistic, but not stop motion because that would take away a bit of like flexibility. Like I come from 2D animation and potatoes are just very hard. So you can't rig them and play around with them as much in real life. So I found a nice hybrid.
Well, this is interesting because I was going to ask about the fact about why potatoes. It's just because that was something that came to mind for you when you thought of German.
Germans like potatoes. I heard they eat it a lot.
I think potatoes are just commonly loved.
Yes, everyone can relate. Everyone knows about them and probably has them at home.
That's so funny. So, okay, so you mentioned, you come from a 2D background. This is like quite different than what you've done before, like technically. Why did you think this would be a good opportunity to like test yourself and challenge yourself so drastically?
Well, I like I said, it was kind of the perfect opportunity because it's a very short format. It's only 1 minute, and I could do whatever I want to do. And I really like to come up with like new workflows and pipelines that are more efficient, but still kind of preserve this handmade traditional animation vibe. Because a lot of people ask me afterwards, like, is it stop motion? It's not stop motion, is it? And it's like, no, it's not. And I love making people guess and coming up with these solutions, because visually I knew that I wanted the potatoes to look real, but I also wanted to 2D animate them. So that's kind of like where my brain started to merge these two formats together, these mediums. And yeah.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit more about that technicality and the look of the movie, because like you say, the potatoes look real and some of the backgrounds are clearly like look more realistic. And then you have these cute potatoes that are animated with funny faces and funny butts, and they're adorable. Can you talk a little bit about that workflow and what that pipeline kind of looked like for you?
Yeah, so I guess I started off every scene as if it was stop motion. So I would build these little sets in real life with the real potato actors. And I found or crafted little hats for them and costumes, and, had a little very rudimentary like light setup. I just like browsing through the house and be like, okay, maybe this lamp and this lamp. And then I just had a very weird setup. But I had quite a nice camera that I borrowed, and through the lens, it just looked pretty good. But I only took a lot of pictures, but I chose one of the images that I really liked, and I tweaked it around a bit. And that was my style frame. And from that on, with Photoshop, I extracted the characters from the background. I would make a clean plate of that background, like filling the gaps. So I had them separated. And I basically used this one image of the potatoes as my first keyframe. And so I would animate the eyes on it, but also like trace the shape of the potato, and then animate these lines. And afterwards, I would squeeze the original image of the potato back into these new lines that I drew with the Photoshop Warp tool mainly. But that workflow actually worked way better than I expected it. So that's how I kind of I keep the steppiness of the 2D, also with the line animation, but it still looks like real potatoes that are a bit more flexible than in real life.
Amazing. And the short, like the 1 minute short, has this, like when it starts right off the bat, you're like, okay, wait, this is familiar. Like these are movie tropes that we've seen before. I wanted to ask you a little bit about when you were starting to develop this concept. Did you have a list of like movies or like concepts from movies that you're like, okay, this is what I want to hit? And at some point, I expect that maybe you're like, okay, maybe I can't do all of these. Can you talk a little bit about that process of what to include, what not to include, how that list started?
Yeah, for sure. So first I really did these little thumbnail drawings in my sketchbook, and just drew these potato protagonists in all kinds of scenarios, like Moby Dick and all these, different genres. And I thought, oh, that could be fun. That could be fun. Kind of like iconic scenes from movies as well. And then I just took my favorite ones and I made a first version of an animatic. So my animatic was just classically 2D animated to see if the timing and the jokes work. But then I did a few iterations after showing it to the client, after showing it to my colleagues as well. because with humor, it's always hard to say like, oh, this works for me. I find this hilarious. And you show it to someone else and it's like, doesn't react. And you were like, fuck. So yeah, there were a few iterations, but that's how I kind of put it in and take stuff out. Like I had a David Attenborough thing in there as well in the beginning, and it kind of didn't hit the spot. So I was like, okay, I guess no one's watching documentaries anymore.
Unless they're true crime.
Yeah.
True crime is a thing, I guess. I don't know. How long was your process?
So I had about 2 weeks to develop the idea and make the animatic, or maybe like 3 weeks till the animatic was really done. And then I had about 2 months to actually make the movie. So it was quite tight, but it was doable. Yeah.
And on I realized afterwards that on the Fabian&Fred website, there's your full 1 minute, but there's some other clips that look like they're a little bit longer than what's in that 1 minute.
Oh, is that? Yeah, that's the director's cut, I guess.
Oh, it might be. Well, because I noticed that there were like little tidbits that are like, they're labeled like youth, elderly, and I'm like,
oh yeah. That was like for promotion, like because they also like to have little clips that address these different categories, because they had special programs for targeted to kids, targeted to elderly people, and stuff like that. So yeah, in addition, I also produced. Totally forgot about that. I also produced like these little kind of add-ons, like that were quite funny actually to make. Just spending a bit more time in the universe, I guess.
They're ridiculously adorable. Why the title Potato Falls? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It just popped in my head, and I thought it's like, oh, that's fitting because the potato in the first scene is him falling, and then he falls through the frame again and again and again, and then we end on him. So I thought it was like, I guess that's the theme then. So yeah, it's a bit random, but I think you can guess that I like random stuff. It was also like, because it gets a bit more random towards the end. It's like a wiggly ass on a rainbow. What genre is that? And then that's what the client asked, and I was like, oh, I don't know.
It's a throwback. It's a throwback to Space Cops.
Exactly, the 80s or stuff. I don't
know. I was wondering, you talked a little bit about the pipeline and how this was quite a different way for you to work. Were there any, I'm sure there were some challenges, but was there any sort of like really creative, out of the box solutions to anything that came up during production for you, since you were trying something like that was really new to you?
I think by now my skill set, I mean, I don't want to brag, but my skill set, since I am kind of like a problem solver when it comes to animation in general, like I use a lot of different softwares. So I kind of, in my head, I have a lot of tools. So there wasn't really a problem that I wasn't able to tackle. There were like slightly different approaches to the scenes. Because sometimes the backdrop is actually a stock footage or something, because I was like, nah, how do I generate a scene now and stuff. No, I guess, well, it starts like I had this idea of like, I think this could work. And I pitched this project and they agreed on the project, but I didn't know if it's gonna work. I just had this idea in my head. It's like, oh, I don't know, make a picture of the potato and just 2D animate it, right? So before I had done the very first scene, I was actually a bit insecure. I was like, maybe this is not gonna work. But so that, I guess that was the hardest challenge, is like, okay, I got this, have to do this first scene so I can feel safe. But yeah.
Did you have a backup plan in case that first scene didn't work?
No. I was like, I tackle problems when they arise.
Oh, and this is a great way of thinking. Like, why worry about something that you may not need to worry about? Just
exactly. I tried to apply this to life as well.
This is a great way to. I like this motto. I really do. I noticed that you were in your bio that you're also working on a feature. Is there anything you can tell us about Smosh Smosh?
Oh, it's actually called Hook in the Mouth now.
Oh. Anything you could tell us about the project? Or?
I can tell you, it has quirky characters. It's quite feminine, but it's a slice of life story in like a very weird setup. And it's a weird underwater world that is unnecessarily oversexed, and we're just working on the script, and it's great. We got a bit of funding, and we just take it step by step. But I'm very excited. I'm still like so passionate about it, even though I think we're working on this for like 6 years now. So because like it changed over time, and like in the beginning it was a series, and now we decided it should be a feature. And very exciting. Yes, one day I'll tell you all more.
Well, I certainly can't wait. I can't speak of anybody else, but I certainly am looking forward to it because you and I, we vibe. The comedy is there.
It needs to be more crazy on screen.
I agree. And no better way to display that crazy than through animation and really, really cute potatoes.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess this project was really more like a celebration of the medium rather than telling a meaningful story or something.
And I think it works really well. And it's one of these things that I know in my mind I'll go back to because, it's not only a celebration of animation, but it's a celebration of film. Because, it is so recognizable when you watch it. You're like, oh, I know where that reference is from. Like, it's working in the back of your mind, which I think is one of the other reasons why it's so effective. So congratulations. It's such a lovely piece of work. And I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to see more.
Yay. I hope to get more of these opportunities, really. It's like, I'm waiting now for someone else to come around and be like, you want to make a 1-minute short? Here's the money.
Right? That's the dream. It's the dream. Thank you so much, Janina. It's been really lovely to speak with you. And I hope we get to see more of your work in the future.
Thanks for having me.